Is Noble suspended, or is that?
No, he's not suspended. No. Internal. It's internal. He's not suspended.
Okay.
Dabo, the way you guys finished up last year, how much did that infuse this winter's workouts and what you're going to see out there in the spring?
Yeah, I think it's really, and honestly, it's tied into what we just talked about from a quality control standpoint. The first 8 games we were 60-something% in red zone scoring, and we were 4-4. The last 5 games we were 5-0. We were almost 90%. You take that. We took a knee against South Carolina and somebody else. Might have been North Carolina or whatever. You take those. Throw those out. It's amazing. We won the turnover margin in those 5 games, and so I think that's created a lot of confidence. With this group, they see what they're capable of doing, and so it's certainly some wind in their sails and an opportunity to build on it. And I think they've used it that way. I mean, you still got to start over, and but there's good leadership. This is a team that's got good leadership. They're I was just telling Ross coming down here, so it's a very, I've stood in front of a lot of teams. This is a very attentive group. That's a word I would use. And they're very attentive. And I like that about them. And I think they're intentional in what they want to do. And if their commitment matches up, then they'll have a chance to be a good team. But we got a lot of work to do, man, a long way to go. And, but I think from how they worked, and it's one of the longer off seasons we've had too, because we finished a little earlier than we normally do, or certainly the year before. So I think we're in a good spot, and everybody's just eager to get out there and go. We got 15 days, and the goal this spring is to install what you want to get installed from a schematic standpoint. But it's more how you do it and why you do it as opposed to what we're doing. I mean, that's the big part of spring ball. This is time to experiment. This is when you really, when you look at our breakdowns from last year, it's fundamental stuff. I mean, it's back to the basics. It's fundamentals. It's your eyes. It's technique. So we'll spend a lot of time this spring kind of trying to really, really reinforce the details of what we do. We'll certainly get all of the installation, but how we do it and why we do it that way.
How do you anticipate early enrollees factoring in spring practice? Anybody you're particularly excited to see out there?
I'm excited to see all of them, because it's the first time for me to see them. So I wouldn't really want to call anybody out, from a football standpoint. But I can just tell you from what they've done in the weight room and watching them through mat drills, and it's a mentally tough group. I mean, that's one of the things I told the seniors in our senior meeting today is I'm really impressed with this young group. They've got a mentality that's hard to coach. It's hard to teach that. And at the end of the day, to win at the highest level in anything, you got to have a certain mindset. And I have seen that from the group. I haven't seen anybody cave. I hadn't seen anybody hit the wall. I've seen, and that's a real credit to our staff and the recruiting, because you try really hard to recruit that. We're not always perfect, but I really like these last couple of 2 or 3 groups that we've signed. I think we got the ingredients. And so we're excited about it. Seen some good effort and guys that have caught my eyes, again, whether it be what they're doing in the weight room, just how they handle themselves, how they worked in mat drills. But now we got to get into the football side of it. So we got, 16 of them here. So, majority of our teams here, we got about 7 guys that'll show up in the summer. So we've got a great opportunity to really, set a foundation for our team and not just create some depth, and not just functional depth, but elite depth. I think we've got the ability to have a lot of competition at every single position, and hopefully with that we'll create the type of elite depth that we need to have the type of season we want to have.
At kicker, obviously you don't have an incumbent. Are you excited about watching those two just kind of battle head to head? And what is the plan? Just give them equal reps and let them go at it?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about kicking, there ain't much subjectivity to it, right? I mean, it either goes through the pipes or it doesn't. I mean, it's a pretty easy thing to evaluate. Now, obviously you got there's more. You got a snap, you got a hold. There's a operation, you got protection and all those things. But as long as all those things are the way they need to be, it's not a hard thing to evaluate. Is the ball up? What kind of consistency, all those things. So we actually started that process at the bowl. We were really fortunate because we had several of these mid-years were able to come, and Nolan was one of them. And man, he was impressive. And I'm excited for Robert. I mean, this guy's unbelievably talented. We've seen a lot of freshmen that have struggled, and that's one of the reasons we made the move that we did, because man, I didn't want to just lose him, and so he just wasn't ready. He just wasn't, and hopefully he's going to have a little reset and get out there and go compete his butt off. Certainly can kick it in the stands. I mean, he can bomb it. So he's off to a good start there. But he wants to be the field goal kicker. So he's got his opportunity, and Nolan's here, and it'll be those two guys will battle it out, and we'll see what happens.
What does the next step for Cade look like?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing when you really study him is he did a great job with the interception part of his game. We had 8 interceptions, and only 4 really were him. So he did a nice job there, and did a great job up until Chappell stepped in. He finished with 8 in the year. 8 in the year, and but only 4 on him. So that part of his game, I'm really pleased with. The biggest thing is just, too many disasters, as we call, like disasters or sacks and tackles for loss, and turnovers. He had what? We had 1 million fumbles, and I think he had at least 4 fumbles. So 4 fumbles, 4 interceptions. We'll live with that. He throws 4 interceptions next year. Hey, sign me up for that. All right, I'm be a happy guy. All right. So we need to clean up some of the other stuff, but the fumbles. He took of our 29 sacks, I believe is what we ended up with. 8 were on him. He had way too many tackles for loss. So what that speaks to is just pocket presence, pocket awareness, just another step in that. That's where he's got to get better. It's a big, and he will. These are all things that he's very self-aware about. But to answer your question, that's just the bottom line. He's got to take care of the ball better. He's got to grow in his pocket awareness. He's got to grow in his situational awareness. There's a couple situational things that we did that you just some we got away with, some we didn't. And this is a first-year starter. This is a first-year starter, young player. And what I love, what you saw the epitome of Cade Klubnik and how he finished the season. He never wilted. He showed a ton of resilience, a ton of leadership, and a ton of mental toughness. And when you got a big dose of those things to go with talent and commitment, you got a chance, and that's one thing I was just telling the team, that really your teammates and coaches want to see. They want to see the commitment be greater than the talent, right? Sometimes you got guys that their talent's greater than the commitment, all right? And, it'll get them so far. But I want a guy, and that's who he is. His commitment, he's very, very talented, but his commitment is even greater than that. And that drives everything with him. I'm a big believer in Cade Klubnik. I'm a big believer, and I love everything about that kid. And he's got to get bigger. He's got to get stronger. Some of those fumbles were just he's not strong enough. He's got to have a little more collision. What's the word I'm looking for? Girth, maybe. I don't know. A little collision sustainability, where that ball doesn't get popped out, and so some of the basic fundamentals that he's got to work on, but that's it. And those are all things he can do stuff about. And then I think, we've got to, again, create that explosive chemistry. And, you show up here last spring, we had like 1 scholarship receiver out there. Literally. I think it was 1 last spring. And so, and then you get into camp, you go all through camp, and two of your best guys they're not there. So now the plus side of that is I think we were able to develop some guys last year that it's really going to pay off for us this year. You know, all of a sudden, boom, here's Tyler Brown, right? Stellato was able to finally, even though he hadn't had a spring, he hadn't had a summer, he's out of camp, all of camp. He got cleared Tuesday of the Duke game. That's when he said, all right, you can play. And so at least he had a chance to play some and make some plays. And so, you know, hopefully that'll grow from that. I think we all know what Adam Randall can do. And he's had to battle through some things. And, man, I really saw him kind of gain his confidence and kind of figure out who he is, you know, kind of like you've seen with Maffa. Like Maffa knows who he is now. I think Adam Randall's kind of figured out who he is, and he's got that confidence to go with it. And so I'm excited about it. I really am. But that explosive chemistry that you have to have, and you don't just flip a switch and have that. It takes 1,000,000 reps. And so the availability of guys, I think, is going to be a real plus. And, you know, everybody's here. We got one more coming this summer, and TJ that we're excited about, getting him here as well. And, you know, love our skill group, love our tight ends. I think Brenny is coming off he's coming off a great year. Brenny's got a chance to leave here with a bunch of records. And, you know, he's shown what he can do, and then we love the depth that we have behind him. So a lot of things to work on. I mean, you know, from a team standpoint, it's all about center. You know, what we're going to do at center. We're going to have a battle there. It's been a while since we've had 7 offensive linemen back that have started for us and won games for us. It's been a while. So to have, you know, 7 guys that have lined up and won games for us, that's where it starts. And then you got Linthicum in there that's 8. He's going to be a guy that's going to have a chance to go compete to be the starter. And then you throw in a couple of those red shirts and Ian Reed and Big Zach. Big Flapjack, you know, excited about that. Dietrich, can Matt get him to take? Can we get him? You know, if we could just ever get that kid to get his commitment greater than the talent. That's kind of his talent is greater than the commitment. That's kind of where it's been with him. And if we can get that changed, then that kid can help us. And then you got, you know, a couple of these young guys, and Elijah Thurman that's here right now, who's really flashed, and you see his athleticism. Mason Wade, same thing. You know, so we got some pieces that we really like. And so it'll be all about center and the competition there. And then we know what Brenny can do. How does that other group emerge? We know what Maffa can do. All right, let's see, man. Let's see Jarvis and Jay and Adams and Easy Yomame. Let's see what all them guys can do this spring. It's going to be fun.
I was going to ask about the center. Who are the other guys that you're going to see besides Ryan competing there?
Yeah, you'll see Ryan and Harris and Trent will primarily compete right out of the gate. We'll see how it all shakes out. You know, Elijah Thurman is a guy that, you know, obviously Watson Young we think has really good and long-term potential as a center for us, but he's out. So, you know, we'll get him back at some point. But Elijah Thurman, those of you who followed him a little bit in recruiting, you know this kid, he played left tackle. I mean, he's a little bigger than J Mack, and he's got that type of athleticism and strength that can play left tackle. But he's powerful to play guard. But he's also played center. Like, you have verifiable film, you know, and so he's kind of a wild card in there. We'll see how it all plays out, but I think that's where it'll start for sure. Ryan and Trent and Harris they'll all get opportunities to compete, and we'll go from there.
I guess at defensive end, we know TJ Parker obviously coming back, but who are some of the other guys you hope emerge at that spot? Yeah, well,
we're really fortunate. We're really blessed with some guys that have a lot of experience, and so Peter Woods is the guy that gives us he's kind of the wild card, if you will. He gives us a lot of flexibility. So, you know, you'll see Peter and TJ out there at end, kind of starting out, and because we feel great about our interior guys in Peyton Page. Peyton's at a funeral. Y'all won't see him today, by the way. His grandfather passed away. Eric's dad, his dad's dad. So he's gone for that for through the weekend. But Peyton Page, Trey Williams, K Part, Steph Island, we got a couple of young ones coming in here that we're really excited about. We got a deep group right there, and so we're actually taking Peter and Caden Story, are two guys that we've moved in, and Peter will continue to play both, especially in like past situations and things like that, and you'll see that through the rest of his career. He'll be a guy that will be dynamic and move him around, but that's where it starts. Really excited about Hoffler, AJ Hoffler. I mean, he really developed last year, and he's a natural pass rusher and still kind of putting some of the other stuff together. Jaheim Lawson. We got, I told you about Armand. He's out. I'm really disappointed in that because Armand can help us. He would have helped us this year. So, hey, we don't have him. So we've got a little group. We got a couple of young guys in here. Kasai's here. We'll see what he's doing. Darian will be here this summer. He's one of the guys that isn't here yet. We obviously Denhoff. This kid's played a ton of football for us and got a lot of experience this year. I think Rump's gonna be great for those guys. It's already been a really good transition there, and then we'll see if Zaire can take a step or not. But we like the group, especially with the addition. We felt like in our recruiting, we addressed our recruiting within our room, and there was nobody out there that we felt like could come in here and beat out Peter Woods. So we roll with what we got, and I do think Caden Story is a guy that will probably be an intriguing guy as we go through the spring. He looks great. He's athletic. He's about 260, and he's got his body in a good spot, so I'm excited about the group.
How does Peter, obviously the last time we kind of saw this was with Christian. How does his situation kind of, is it similar to what Christian? How are they similar or how are they different?
Similar in that they're both dynamic, but Peter's fast. He might be the fastest D lineman we have. I mean, not that Christian's slow, God forbid. Christian, you're fast. He watches this. I'll be getting a text message from him, but Peter can fly. I mean, he's freaky. He's stronger. He's a freaky dude, man. I mean, he can play anywhere, and he can play in at 290 and play it as fast as you need him to play it. That guy's a football player, man. He could probably play Mike Backer for us. So you'll see him. You'll see us use him in a lot of ways, especially now that he's got a year under his belt, and he gives us a lot of flexibility. Obviously, T.J. Parker, what he did last year was pretty special for a freshman, and but he's just an incredibly gifted, fast, explosive, strong, powerful football player, and really understands the game. Played at the highest level, 7A. Played in 5 state championships in a row. I mean, the kid's he's a winner. He's a grinder. He's got the mindset that you want. So all those things bode well for us.
After the latest round of off-season developments with college sports, where's your head today about where it's going to be in a couple, 3-4 more years with, National Labor Relations Board giving a basketball program the right to unionize, more talk of pure pay for play, NIL actually fading away, but the athletes becoming employees of the schools, et cetera?
I'm voting you for commissioner because you're going to figure it all out for sure.
I haven't figured it out. I'm wondering what you're thinking.
Yeah, well, I'm just worried about practice today. That's what I'm thinking. I'm focused on what I control, and that is, my effort, enthusiasm, and attitude to go coach and teach and lead today and inspire and motivate. That's what my focus is. All the rest of that stuff, nothing's changed for me. I mean, it's there'll be more dominoes coming. What that looks like, I don't know. But for me, man, I'm still about leading these guys and trying to graduate these players, trying to develop them as men. Trying to make sure they have a good experience and trying to help them win a championship. And that's never going to change for me.
Do you have a strong opinion on what they do with the early signing or with the signing periods?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk. We had a lot of conversation about that at the coaches convention, and I actually spoke on that some in our kind of private meetings there. But I didn't really care. I just wanted to move it up anywhere. I mean, whether it's 1st of December, middle of November, August 1st, I could care less. I just wanted I'm for anything earlier than the portal, because I think it really hurts the high school kids. I really do. And so I think it gives the high school an opportunity for those kids to be signed before the portal opens. I think it's a positive. I don't know, has that happened yet? I know there's been some talk about it, but hopefully that'll happen.
Yeah, all those conversations come up though, and I know for me personally, the last couple of weeks, from friends to coworkers to complete strangers, they've said they should move the signing period up. And I go, you know who said that last year? Dabo Swinney. He's been saying that. And you get a lot of flack for the comments that you make that get taken out of context, spread nationally from what you say in some of these press conferences. How much of that, though, is conversations that you were having with coaches, and you're just the one who's willing to say it in front of a microphone?
Yeah, actually, if you could probably go back about 7 years before we ever even had an early signing period, I was beating that horse and talking about, I presented it at our AFCA coaches meetings. I presented it to the ACC, and didn't get much traction. I talked about why we needed an early signing period, et cetera, et cetera. And, I'm not looking for any credit for any of that stuff. I'm just glad it happened. But as far as all the national stuff, I don't know. I
mean more of like how much of that is like you've been thinking on this and feeling this in your heart, and how much of it is you and other coaches that this is a narrative that we just don't hear from other people, but it's conversations you guys as coaches have been having and fighting for behind the scenes. Oh my gosh.
Honestly, we're one of the few professions where I think the experts in the profession don't have any say. I don't know if that makes sense, if you get a toothache, you go to the dentist, right, and you open your mouth, and if he says, dang, you got a root canal and you need it right now, well, what are you going to do, Cornblute? You go, a drill, baby. All right, like, you just like, what? Fix it, right? You don't know, right? This is what they do. And, we're the patient walking in there, okay, if you go see the doctor and then all of a sudden he goes, man, golly, we got to put a stent in you right now. Like, you just kind of trust the experts and what they do. And it's a really interesting phenomenon, honestly, because, I've been in college football since 1988. I've done it all. I've walked on. I've been a scholarship player. I've been a coach, GA, a coach. I've been a head coach. I've been with 18 to 23-year-olds for 30 years. I've been one. I've raised 3 of them, and I've lived with them for 30 years. I've been doing life with this age group. I've got a lot of knowledge. I got a PhD in 18 to 23-year-olds. I do. But I got no say. And we really don't. Coaches really we have very little input. We get to talk a lot. And we get to these, that's why I hate going to these meetings. I said this at the AFCA this year. I said, I don't even know why I come. I'm here because none of y'all going to talk bad about me. But hardly anybody goes. I think there was 1 SEC coach there, maybe 2 Big Ten. And hardly anybody there. I don't know, 133 Division I coaches, and we probably had 50 coaches. And I said that. I said, this is sad. But in their defense, they know it's a waste of time. Because we sit in there and we moan and groan and we solve all the problems, but we have no authority. And it's not that people have bad intentions. They really don't. The people that are making all these decisions and creating laws, they don't have bad intentions. They're just not equipped to understand the consequences of decisions they make. They're just not. And so to answer your question, yes, 5 years ago, we sat in as coaches and not just the ACC, but the leagues, and we talk as coaches and we go, man, this is a problem. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to have tampering. We're going to have, and it's like, this plays out like just, it's the way you wrote it, but all you can do is just voice your opinion. We don't have any, we really don't. So you get criticized a lot for speaking what you think is your truth and speaking what you think is you know, I mean, it's what you've been equipped. It's what you've learned. You know, I've spent my lifetime, you know, as a part of this game and learning and watching and so, you know, it just kind of is what it is. You know, it's like we can all right now, I mean, all the adults can say, man, this train's fixing to just run off that bridge and it's going to crash, and we don't do anything about it. And kind of like that movie, The Fugitive, right? When it's going to go off, and then now we got to go figure it out, right? All right, now what happened? How do we fix it? All right, who's the one-armed guy? All right, how do we fix it, right? And eventually it'll get there. So again, maybe that's an answer to your question too. Sometimes bad things have to happen before things get better. And unfortunately, that's probably where we are in college football right now.
What I wanted to get to was, you know, you're on record as saying, if you pay them like employees, I'm out of here. I'll go find something else to do.
Yeah, I've always said I'm against the professionalization of college athletics. Well, we'll see. I think the best thing for coaches in the kind of the world we're in right now is for them to be employees. The worst thing is for them to be employees. That's not a world that we want for 18-year-olds. I think we've lost our way, and we need to. We have to. I don't care what it looks. I'm all for the NIL. I think NIL is awesome. I really am. I'm all for enhancing the scholarship however we want, but I also understand the reality that 98% of these kids aren't going to play in the NFL. And we need to educate our young people in this society. Nobody talks about the value of an education anymore. It's $125,000 to $145,000 a year for every kid that comes to Clemson, every single year, football player. And that's $30,000 to $45,000 in cash in hand and everything that goes in between it. And that's not even counting the NIL. So we've created great opportunity, and we should create more. I just want to see us incentivize education. I want to see us, I mean, there's so many things we could do. We could create 401ks, you know, like the real world, right? If you take your money out early, there's a penalty, you know. But these are 18-year-old kids leaving home for the first time in their life. And, you know, we're sometimes setting them up for failure. And so, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, hopefully at some point we'll find a better place where we're not just firing 18, 19-year-old kids because they, you know, aren't quite as fast as we thought they would be, you know, or they're a little homesick or whatever. So, you know, it's just there's a lot that'll come down the pipe, down the road, and you know, but I love what I do. I love the challenge of it. I love the challenge of putting team together, and just, you know, focusing on my guys, focusing on helping fulfill the purpose of this program, and really the purpose of my life, you know, which is to glorify God, to be a great husband and father, and to use this platform of education and football to build great men. That's my purpose. That's what I do. It's what I wake up and do. That's what drives me. Now the rest of it drives me. That's what's always driven me. And none of that has changed. And I think there's a lot of great things that will eventually come about, you know. But there'll probably be some bad things happen along the way that we'll all learn from. And somewhere along the line, somebody will say, you know what, we got to be a little smarter in this area.
Got about 3 or 4 more minutes.
How important is it that you get some competition